Welcome in. My name is BaldZebra, and we are here to discuss some of the best highlights of 2024. That's right, truly great and utter flops. That's right, true masterpieces of failure. Games that missed the mark.
Not games that missed the mark, games that could not find the mark if you gave them a treasure map and an X marks the spot where the mark was.
So grab your favorite cup of chamomile tea, or maybe something quite a bit stronger, and follow me on a journey of games that show you why pre-ordering can be a bad thing. And let's discuss topics like, does early access actually mean anything anymore?
Roasted.
We are in the middle of an unfolding crisis.
We open our list with Homeworld 3, which aimed for the stars but ended up lost in space. Homeworld 3 introduces Imogen Set, the new fleet leader, on a quest to uncover what happened to her missing mentor. While the narrative setup has potential, the execution falls short. Instead of expanding into a grand story about an entire civilization, the game focuses on a small group of characters caught in a generic heroes versus villains conflict. Though the characters are likable, they lack development, and the story doesn't provide emotional depth or epic stakes that defined its predecessors. At launch, the game was plagued with mechanical issues. Ship pathing was awkward, particularly in large battles, making it harder to control your fleet in complex scenarios. And combat also felt unbalanced, with ships being destroyed in just a couple of hits, making large-scale battles frustrating and definitely not as enjoyable as they should have been. This led to early negative feedback and let players feel like they were fighting the game, not the enemy fleet. Missions often felt like AI is just following a set schedule rather than adapting to player actions. Once players figured out the patterns, the challenge disappears. It's like playing against an opponent that's stuck on autopilot, unable to even surprise or challenge you. Patches did eventually address some of the issues, like overhauling the combat system and improving pathfinding. However, the fixes came too late for players who had already been burned by the game's rough launch.
Roasted.
Silent Hill: The Short Message grabs the 9th spot on our list. The game aimed to rekindle the eerie magic of the iconic franchise, but ended up feeling like a brief whisper, rather than a spine-chilling scream. Silent Hill fans were hoping for some serious scares, but instead they got a few random monster chases and some simple puzzles that didn't come close to matching the franchise legacy. While the walk around and find only interactive object routine quickly becomes a chore, the escape room segment could have been tense, but after a while they feel like repetitive tasks. Controls are not exactly the strong point of the game either. You can't run unless the monster is hot on your heels, and forget about crouching or jumping. You know, basic mechanics that are staples of survival horror. The movement feels stiff and clumsy, making everything from exploring feeling more like a struggle than a survival challenge. The dialogue seems awkward and forced, and with social media references that seem fresh at first but are quickly dropped when the story veers off on an unexpected direction. Instead of adding to the depth of the plot, it feels disjointed, like it's trying too hard to be relevant. The final chase is more confusing than terrifying. It's a maze-like mess where monsters spawn randomly, and you'll spend more time wandering aimlessly than actually feeling scared. I have a short message for you. Let's try a summary. Frustrating, not frightening, but free.
Roasted.
Dragon's Dogma 2 landed at number 8 on our list, proving that even a sequel with dragons and Dogma can still stumble its way to disappointment. The game features beautiful environment, but it falls short due to lack of boss variety and main quests that are just a bit underwhelming. The side quests are decent, but not enough to make up for the main flaws. Many of them are hampered by frustrating issues, like having to walk across the map limited by fast travel, being tied to unmarked quests, or simply bugging out for no reason. Instead of feeling rewarding, it often comes off as a grind. If you don't have an ox cart or a port key, get ready for a scenic and lengthy trek on foot. Ah, those beautiful landscapes. No horses, no speed boots, just you, your stamina bar, and an endless journey across the land. This design choice was probably intended to make exploration feel epic, but all it does is turn the game's map into a walking simulator. So you've got yourself a world that quickly feels like an exhausting, repetitive slog. You want to organize your items? Well, tough luck. Many items add dead weight, which accumulated until they slowed the character down. Constantly optimizing the party's inventory and shuffling between storage and character's loadout resulted in spending a significant portion of the game navigating menus instead of exploring the world. Dragon's Dogma 2 had all the makings of an RPG of the Year contender. but ended up feeling kind of like an early access title.
Roasted.
Funko Fusion lands at number 7 on our list, and let's just say the game's oversized heads aren't the only thing that's bloated. The game levels consist of aimless wandering, solving simple puzzles, and shooting enemy Funko Pops. With vague objectives, players often find themselves clueless about where to go. Game-breaking bugs are frequent, and lack of checkpoints means that any mistake or glitch forces you to replay an entire chapter. If you lose 3 lives or encounter a bug, prepare for a fresh start. Again and again. The bosses are long, drawn-out affairs with repetitive attack patterns requiring players to wait for weak points to appear or engage in tedious tasks, like filling pipes with purple goo. Even after you think you've won, you'll be left questioning, is this a glitch, or is this just a drawn-out loop of frustration? With all the glitches, confusing designs, and drawn-out mechanics, the game fails to offer anything exciting. What could have been a fun, chaotic mashup of characters ends up being a tedious slog. Ultimately, Funko Fusion may just end up making you sell all your Funko Pops, or light them on fire.
Roasted.
Next on our list is Dragon Age: The Veilguard. This one might make you question whether it's part of the same franchise. The writing fails to capture the essence of Dragon Age with flat characters and stories that feel disconnected from the series lore. It almost feels as if the writers never bothered to play the previous games. And the narrator is about as immersive as a cardboard cutout. The cities and environments feel like sets more than actual worlds, and you can't interact with much. NPCs are static and lack real behavior. Guards just stand around, you can't even harm them. It's like walking through a theme park with no attractions. From generic NPCs that serve no real purpose to villains who fail to leave an impact, the game's characters are mostly forgettable. Even the most interesting companions fall into the trap of repetitive lines and awkward dialogue.
You came here to meet me. To talk to me?
The lack of environmental interaction and simple linear puzzles kill any sense of role-playing. It's like they forgot the role-playing part of RPG. The combat feels like a never-ending, button-mashing session. Killing enemies is a chore, with some requiring an absurd number of ultimates in order to go down. If you like to roam the map and discover hidden secrets, well, don't bother. All you find are a few coins and useless upgrades. There are no meaningful discoveries or environmental storytelling to make you feel like you've uncovered the mysteries of Thedas. Dragon Age: The Veilguard is more like an imitation of the series, dressed up in Dragon Age clothes.
Roasted.
Okay guys, we're halfway there and ready to get hyped for a bubble battle, only to find those bubbles vanish in seconds, leaving you sitting in cold regret? Next on our gaming list of flops is Foamstars. There's the esports gamer, the influencer, and the faux superhero. All flashy outfits, no substance. While their style fits Bath Vegas, their personalities pop like weak soap bubbles, leaving nothing to hold on to. The Foamstar missions are tower defense snooze fest with waves of bubble monsters shuffled towards you with the urgency of molasses. Predictable patterns and dull combat make these missions less training for multiplayer and more a willpower test for staying awake. Winning often feels like a chore, and the mechanics fail to teach anything meaningful in advanced play or strategy. If forced banter and dad jokes written by AI aren't bad enough, the lifeless voice acting takes into a whole new level of awkwardness. Pair this with a soundtrack that seems to have been borrowed from an elevator at a dentist office, and you'll be praying for an all-mute option. While single player is only too easy, multiplayer swings wildly the other way, delivering only chaos. There's no real reward for skill, and the lack of proper balance feels like a gamble than a game. The game setting has potential, party vibes, bright colors, non-stop celebration, cool aesthetic, but somehow it ends up as a carnival without any revelers. No amount of foam could cover up this emptiness. Sorry to burst your bubble, Foamstars, but this one is popped.
Roasted.
Sorry, Gojo fans, but next on our list is an absolutely cursed title. Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash. From non-existent combos to mechanics that feel that belong in beta phase, the gameplay is an exercise in frustration. Sukuna's melee attack barely connect. Gojo's famed Infinite Void is just a quick visual effect that leaves enemies unstunned and ready to counter. Domain expansions, more like domain disappointments. What is this, my life? Combos boil down to spamming one button. Occasionally you'll press a second button for variety, but that's about it. Even for an arena fighter, this feels lazy and uninspired. The story is just a copy-paste of the anime, with long cutscenes and sparse fights. Fans hoping for something original will find themselves skipping through dialogue they already know. The animations lacked impact and feel half-baked. The graphics look like they were lifted from a mid-tier game. Even destruction physics are nowhere to be found. At $60, the price is absurd for a game that offers little beyond basic fights, repetitive gameplay, and shallow co-op mode. Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash may be based on a hit anime series, but as a game, it's an absolute flop.
There shouldn't be any problem.
Roasted.
Alright, the heavy hitters. Ladies and gentlemen, taking third place is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the kind of game you grab for free on Epic and then even forget it's in your library. For a game built around a superpowered mayhem, the gameplay feels shockingly dull. It's repetitive grind of busywork. Get here, kill X enemies. Now kill same enemies, but only with specific weapon or specific attack. Or maybe defend point A, or escort a payload that crawls along while you swing around it. Kill brain-dead enemies. Rinse, repeat. Yawn. Speaking of fights, they're always the same bland rooftop brawls, and when you're done, you're rewarded with pointless "who's the best" scoring screen that no one wanted. The enemy variety is equally uninspired, with just 4 types of Brainiac biomonsters. Combat and traversal were promised to work in harmony for a slick, satisfying experience, but instead they feel clunky and restrictive. Movement lacks flow, and combat becomes a chore of fighting out which specific attack works on which enemies over specific weaknesses. It's less about taking down villains and more about wrestling with game mechanics and systems. Paired with a season pass full of emotes, making the whole thing feel more like a free-to-play MMO than a premium-priced game. And let's not mention the choice that this is set in the Arkham's universe. It disregards so much of the beloved lore that it feels like Arkham's legacy is being tossed aside faster than you can finish a rooftop brawl. At its core, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a lesson in what not to do with a live service model. Protect the car, shoot the same enemy, and hope the player buys skins? Even Harley Quinn would question this. And she's crazy.
Roasted.
Skull and Bones launched to minimal fanfare in February 2024. Despite several delays and multiple concept overhauls, the game still struggles to find its direction. The initial trailer promised an exciting sailing experience, akin to Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, but instead, sailing turns out to be the least enjoyable part. Rather than capturing the thrill of piracy, it becomes a monotonous chore of scanning ships in hopes of finding something worthwhile. The gameplay is a tedious grind, focused on collecting slightly better loot while aimlessly sailing trade routes. Combat quickly loses its appeal, especially in a game that drags you to its endgame, where you spend time delivering goods like rum and opium to NPCs, all the while trying to avoid the AI-controlled boats. The map is poorly designed with badly labeled locations, either memorizing where those things are or hovering over each one to figure it out. Good luck trying to figure out where you're supposed to go next. Frequent intrusive cutscenes break any flow, and the mission designs lack excitement or engagement. Add some outdated visuals, and the result is a rather miserable experience. Most importantly, the game lacks a true protagonist or meaningful land-based interactions at all, leaving you with just a ship to sail and no characters to care about. Ubisoft may try and fix it with future updates, but for now, Skull and Bones feels like an endless sea of missed opportunities for a quadruple A game.
Roasted.
It's it! You've reached the end of this list. Congratulations, you lasted longer than some of these games. Time to crown the champion of this parade of flops. It is Concord. PlayStation, known for its single-player masterpieces, really left fans scratching their heads in 2024 by choosing to focus on a 5v5 hero shooter instead of dropping another Spider-Man 2 or God of War. A bold move, but only one that missed the mark by about a mile. As a live service, multiplayer-only game priced at $40, Concord really tested players' patience from the start. Locking a live service game behind a paywall can sometimes work, but here it just felt like an overpriced ticket to disappointment. It had microtransactions that felt overly aggressive, left players that felt that they were being asked to pay for more content that should have been included on launch. One of the game's biggest issues is its lackluster character design. While Overwatch shines with stylish, likable heroes, Concord offers goofy, unattractive characters based in questionable outfits and bland dialogue, static scenes, and a story that feels more like a forgotten draft. And you've got a recipe for failure. Gameplay-wise, Concord struggles to find its footing. Frustrating maps and an incoherent meta system make it feel more like a knockoff than a serious contender. So instead of standing out from the crowd live service space, it quickly became a cautionary tale in a genre built to drain your time and money. Mediocrity is basically a death sentence in these games. What's even worse, Concord couldn't even do one thing it needed to do: be fun. Even the most hardcore players couldn't figure out what the game was trying to be. With an unclear progression system and a community that couldn't stick around, it's no surprise the game fell apart. The result, less than 2 weeks after its August 23rd launch, the developers admitted that Concord did not land as intended and took the servers offline. Players were left with a $40 souvenir from the gift shop of bad decisions. Fortunately, with a refund option.
The crew is gathering. Would you like to join us for game night?
Roasted.
And that's it for the biggest gaming flops of 2024. Hopefully you enjoyed this compilation of gaming flops, disasters, and bad choices. If you think we've missed anything, don't be shy and let us know on the comments down below, and have yourself a safe and sound 2025.
Roasted.